Hello and welcome to an interview with the TurboPixel Studio devs for Reflex. Now, I've been covering their game for about a year now, actually, funnily enough, as it comes up to their year-long anniversary, and I thought it'd be an excellent time to have an interview and discuss some questions. So, starting off with, what initially made you want to develop Reflex when, like, at that time, I'll kind of say ArenaFPS was in a bit of decline.
I guess I'm going first. So for us, it wasn't really a decline because it's games we played pretty much non-stop all the way through since mid-90s and stuff. Working on pro mode and just playing every single Quake that's come out and, every other Quake clone and everything like that. For us, it didn't really feel like a decline. Well, it's pretty obvious like it was a decline in terms of social features and things like that. But for us, we thought that it's the prime opportunity to actually bring a bit more life back into the scene and add all the social features and all the things that people kind of expect these days, and spice things up a bit. And yeah, we're all really keen to play an FPS and kind of got a little bit tired after about 10 years of waiting for the kind of one that we wanted, so we figured we'd just kick things off. And then it's, funnily enough, like as soon as we started doing ours, and by the time we started showing it, all these other ones popped up and stuff, so other people must be feeling the same way.
Yeah, I don't think it was some big noble goal of, we're going to bring back arena shooters for everybody.
Yeah. No,
we just kind of went
for ourselves.
Well, yeah, what do we want to play? We want to play Reflex. Let's build Reflex because no one else is going to. And it, even just from a business point of view, it's definitely not the game we thought, we'll be multi-millionaires for making Reflex. This is our passion in gaming. This is the kind of game we love. We want to make our own one. We want it to be good. We ideally want it to be better than anything else out there, but most importantly, we just want it to be the game we want to play.
Mm-hmm. Shooter, do you have any thoughts on the question? Or
yeah, they summed it up pretty much. For me, I just wanted to play another game. I've been waiting for a new Quake or a new Unreal for a long time, and I didn't really meet the same satisfaction that the older ones did. And yeah, I decided let's build it. I'm sick of sitting around waiting for someone to build another Quake. Come on, guys, where's the old school arena shooter? We thought, what, we'll do our own, and that's kind of where it started.
When we started, there was nothing on the horizon at all. Reborn had been announced, but it was still just kind of murmurings of a game one day. They hadn't really shown anything much, and nothing else was happening.
There was no new Unreal.
No, there's no new Unreal. There's none of these other indie arena shooters that have been popping up since. There was just us and Reborn, who we didn't know what was going to happen with, and so we thought, well, yeah, someone's got to do it. May as well be us. We've got the experience. Got the
manpower.
Yeah.
Team of 3. Yeah.
We've got $50. Whatever.
so did it come as a surprise then when you started developing and Epic announced UT? We've got Toxic, we've got Diabotical, which was originally Reborn, and Project Next. What else was there? Wrecked. There's tons of them. Did that come as an initial surprise when about a year ago that started popping up?
The Unreal Tournament did, to be honest. I didn't see them doing that, but it kind of was just reassuring that we're onto something, like customers are interested in this, and we were a step ahead in that retrospect. That was good.
Yeah, if anything, it's kind of cool that all these other ones are popping up and stuff and generating more interest in the genre again.
Cool. So next, what was your original vision for the game? I assume with your backstory of being working on CPMA, that was really where you were coming from, but did you have kind of any grand schemes or grand goals setting out that you wanted to achieve?
Oh yeah, grand vision was CPMA gameplay with all these amazing social features and hubs and next gen graphics and crazy budget kind of stuff, and then slowly chipping away at it and dialing it back and changing. The original vision was a lot grander than what we, I guess, are ending up with, but it's not a bad thing, because even though we've gone for a more simplistic art style, it's given us the flexibility of, like, all the mappers and stuff have wanted. They want all these different themes. They want to be able to just, mishmash things together and have it look cohesive and cool and stuff. And if we had gone like full AAA and stuff, like, it would look stupid doing a gothic environment, people adding neons and crazy sci-fi bits and pieces to it. But because it's all kind of consistent, people can do that now. So I'm probably talking more about on the art side and visuals and effects and things like that. Flea Circus Newborn, you can talk about gameplay.
I don't think our vision was necessarily like a gameplay one. Like, we wanted to take the base of CPMA, and there's a few things we could definitely fix up from that. Like, even back when CPMA was actively developed, there's a lot of stuff we wanted to change or test but couldn't because we were just a mod and didn't have artists or budget or anything like that. But I think a core idea of Reflex was as a platform for arena shooters. Like, that's what CPMA did really well. It raised the bar for the features an arena shooter should have, with all the multi-view demos and all the call vote features. And if you actually go back and compare CPMA to just unmodded Quake 3, unmodded Quake 3 is kind of brutally unpolished, and it doesn't have heaps of these features that the community expects.
Yeah, you couldn't even
so basically
change
just wanted. Yeah. Basically, we just wanted to do that again with all of these new modern features as well. Like, do the same thing for matchmaking, do the same thing for cosmetics, just sort of establish that competitive standard and that arena FPS standard. Gameplay wise, like, I'm not really looking to change the world forever through gameplay. I think what we've got is already really solid. It's already had a lot of design work put into it by building on CPMA. So I think that personally was my vision, was to just bring all of the arena shooter stuff that's been tried and proven and enjoyed by millions of players into like a more modern environment.
Shooter, do you have anything to add, or?
Not really. My tech vision, I guess, it's a bit different. I always wanted to have the map editor in the game. It just makes more sense. It's quicker, and it's how we wanted to produce things as well. And I think, these are all techie things. But we kind of, at first, we wanted the game to run at 120 FPS on a Titan, and that was our desire. That was what the target was, and that really just changed drastically. It has to run on that on a really low-end machine. But these are all techie things. As for the vision, I think that was more Newborn's department, really.
I think the tech's always really interesting to listen to, especially for some people who are inclined to go into that field in the future. Kind of moving on to how it has your vision changed. Is there kind of things that you originally set out to do? Obviously, the art Electro was talking about originally a minute ago, how that changed. But is there anything else that you really wanted to do something and you just couldn't manage it due to limitations, or?
Yeah, that's been a tricky one throughout. Like, it's easy to look online and look at all these amazing things. It's like, yeah, let's do that, and you just can't realistically without millions and millions of dollars. So it's taken us a while to work out what we actually realistically can achieve, and at the same time something that we're happy with. We don't want to just do something that's quick and easy. It's just, that's not really what we're about.
Okay.
I think art and tech vision's probably changed the most out of anything. Like, the core game ideas remained pretty consistent the entire development, but we're a small team with 3 people, and it's our first game. So there was definitely a lot of learning what was within reach for us and what was just way out of scope. But I think that's something we've nailed down now. We've got a much better idea of, how much tech we can really afford to put in and how much we can afford to polish it up and how much is better just left out or worked around. Or...
Really quite happy with where it landed. Like, we've got a lot of stuff in there, a lot of different styles. It's quick to make. These are all goals we had, easy to make, quick to play, nice, fast, responsive engine. I think we've hit a lot of those goals.
Yeah, definitely. Just on that question with the stake gun, so that was something that I imagine would have been your original kind of vision, and then obviously changed over time. Do you want to talk about that at all, or?
Oh, it's mostly just a experiment. Like originally, before putting in the bolt rifle, we thought, well, let's try a stake gun because on paper that's better. Like it takes more skill, and not only do you have to predict horizontally, you've got to predict vertically as well, and that's a new interesting thing. But then when we put it in, it just didn't work. It really pushed into the role of rocket launcher. It was just kind of like a rocket launcher with no splash, and then rocket launcher felt a bit less useful, or stake gun didn't feel really useful. There's just not enough difference between the two weapons.
Had tech issues as well with the stake trying to move at 7,000 a second and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the design. Like the design core would be to, if we could do it, it would be to double, triple the speed and get into crazy speeds. So it's almost fast insta hit type of thing, but not over crazy range. So you're not doing one pixel visible players just cop an instant 80 damage or whatever. But then
and by the time we actually made it fast enough that it did feel like a useful weapon, it was effectively a bolt rifle anyway, because you'd fire it, and by the time the server told you that someone had fired a stake gun, it would be 3/4 of the way across the map.
Yeah,
So
like it wouldn't even appear,
anything.
like for technical reasons, it just, it doesn't even appear until it's, 1,000+ units away when it's at that kind of speed.
So that was, so we sort of chucked it back in as a mid-tier or low-tier weapon to see how it played. I think a lot of people, because of the order of the weapons, they expected it to somehow be the best weapon. But it was always intended to kind of be a mid-tier weapon at best.
We just tacked the bind at the end for when we first put it in. People were like, "Oh, it's the new BFG."
Again, for technical reasons,
Yeah.
all weapons have an index, and so it went on the end. But
And I suppose the advantage of building a new game such as Reflex is you can try these things, and if they work, they work, and if they don't work, then it's no real loss, and you can move on to greater and better things. So now's a good time to talk about. Sorry.
I was going to say, there's definitely some interesting stuff with the stake gun that we'd like to revisit, but it's just, with the game in its current state, it's just not really worth having a weapon in there that's not pulling its weight. I think that's one thing I'm happy with the design at the moment. Yeah, there's lots of weapons that still need tweaking and balancing and stuff, but everything's pulling its weight as far as fulfilling a role goes, and stake gun wasn't. So when we didn't have art for it, it was pretty easy to say, let's come back to it later.
Cool. So I guess it's a good time to move on to how did the development actually start in the game? Was there a long period before anything became public at all? How long were you working on the game before last year, I guess?
Yeah, this is probably for me or Ben.
Yep.
Electro and I were working on a platformer outside of work hours for probably 3 or 4 years, a long time. And it was really cool, looking really pretty, and it just didn't have, a spirit, or it just wasn't something there. And at the same time, you wanted to be talking to Electro about, come on, let's do a shooter, let's do one. And Ben and I had always wanted to do one. It was just always too hard. We can't do that with 2 people, ha. And then eventually it was like, all right, let's just park this platform. It's not working out, and let's just start toying with this shooter idea. And that was probably, I don't know the timeline, Ben, maybe 3 years ago now.
Yeah, probably, and using that tech and stuff and porting that over, it was pretty quick to have a box moving around. It was pretty buggy, but yeah, our little box shooter.
The box shooter was great.
I think major development started about a year before Kickstarter. We'd been doing stuff before that, but it was all just kind of getting the very basics in place. But we really kind of ramped it up about a year before Kickstarter.
Cool. So looking back on the initial kind of release this time last year, how did you feel about the game? Were you happy with how the initial release went, or is there anything you do differently now?
I think the early access release itself went really well. We were genuinely excited to have people in game and playing Reflex. That was one of the things we didn't really like about Kickstarter, is it had all of these if you give us this money, you'll get it in 6 months and stuff like that. Whereas early access was just, here's the game, buy it, enjoy it, play it, have fun. Because we'd done all of our early test and sort of given the like pre-Kickstarter builds to a few people, and all their feedback was really positive, and they were all really excited. And we thought we want everyone to be part of this, not just like a few old CPMA names and stuff. So I think we were really excited that people would finally get to play the game, because we wanted to see people playing it. We wanted to see people having fun.
Yeah, we were really excited. Both Shooter and myself just took the plunge. We're like, well, everyone's really pumped. The community's thriving and things are going really well. So now's the time to invest in ourselves. And that's when we switched from, working on it part-time and, doing our daily grind jobs. And then after hours, like chipping away at it, we went full-time and really picked up the pace.
It was kind of a make or break moment. I think like I was spending a lot of hours on it at that time, out of hours, and it was just really getting to a point where we need to put more time into this. And can we put more time into this? How do we afford to do that? And it's just like, let's get it out there. Let's see how let's see what people take to it. And yeah, people loved it. Looking back now, I guess it's easier to say I'd like to make it more advanced before putting it on early access, but it's just realistically, I don't know how we could do that without financial backing.
I mean, we're already working flat out, and we're still missing a few features that if you had have asked me back then, I would have said, we can't go to early access without this.
Yeah.
And we still don't have that stuff, despite the fact that when we say we work full-time, like that's an understatement. I think I work like double full-time for the last few weeks. So really, like
very busy. It's a lot of work.
If we hadn't have just had that kind of, all right, we have to do this now moment, then we might have held onto it for far too long. So you'd say one of the advantages of going to this early access rather than continuing with the Kickstarter like you cancelled it early was that you could get the game into hands of people much sooner than you would have been able to.
Yeah, that's what early access is really good for. I was really impressed with how that went.
And then there was just something we didn't quite like about Kickstarter, like just the whole format didn't really suit us because, I mean, let's face it, people are pretty cynical about Kickstarter these days. They've seen hundreds of games go through and they've seen hundreds of those games fail. We got a lot of people kind of, questioning our experience and questioning our motivations and our ability to deliver and stuff. And we kind of knew we've already got this like prototype that's feeling really good and it's running really well, and we've already come a lot further than some of these games on early access. Like, we might not have shown that particularly well because a lot of Kickstarter games just do like a very thin vertical slice where they make a tiny bit of the game look completely polished, and then it turns out the rest of the game doesn't exist. We didn't really do that. We just took pictures of our prototype and went, look, we've got this.
Believe us.
But yeah, and that was the thing. It was like, please believe that we can do this.
Yeah, it was more us. You're just begging on Kickstarter. Like, it's like, we're going to do it, we'll do it. I promise we'll do it. But I'm just sitting here going, we've done it. It's if you like the game, put some money and you can play right now. To me, that's a lot more fitting.
And I believe that was a time where there was a fair few kind of large Kickstarter flops that were in the public opinion. So I'm sure that would have had some kind of impact upon people at the time.
Yeah, the Kickstarter bubble seemed to have started to burst at that point. It was pretty bad timing.
I'm worried early access is kind of going the same way as well, because like players aren't exactly wrong to be cynical, because a lot of them have been burned by all of this stuff repeatedly. Like, even I can think of an early access game I got which I was really excited about, and I think 2 years or 3 years later or something, no more updates at all. And that's really disappointing as a player. You get all excited and you want to try and support this project, and then it just vanishes overnight. We really wanted the chance to prove that we're not like that.
And hopefully people believe us now, and then when it comes time for us to do our next one, they know it's just going to be amazing.
Now, Reflex is going to be amazing first, and then we'll do a new game, which will also be amazing.
It already is amazing, isn't it? Just one thing I want to bring up as a kind of an aside is that I've played a lot of early access ArenaFPS games in the past year, and I really must say that Reflex is probably the best one I've played by quite a long shot.
No, you say that to all the guys you interview.
I'm not even joking. Not even joking.
Oh, that's good to hear.
There's Project Next I played. Dear, wow, that was terrible. And there's been a few others where they're just kind of not at that kind of. Reflex always felt polished when it first came out, and it's something that that's the reason why I played it so much and I've stuck with it. So fanboyism aside, let's move on.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. What do you feel are your biggest successes, failures, and challenges from the past year of development?
Yeah, with successes, I'm pretty happy with how the engine's gone. The netcode's working out really well, and a lot of the real-time editing and lighting stuff we wanted to do, I think, has really hit the mark. I'm really quite happy with that. As for failures, yeah, I don't know if it's really a failure, but we did end up spending a lot of time on tech and art that we didn't end up using. We struggled a bit with designing a look, like we just talked about it a bit before. I think when designing a new IP, it's actually quite hard to come up with a unique look that you're happy with and you can actually achieve as well. That took us a fair bit.
We went through a lot of sort of iterations and experiments that just never got seen as well. There's a lot went into all of the art design and sort of world building and stuff like that. And then I know this simplistic look we've got at the moment might not be to everyone's taste, but it really suits the game. Like it gives clearer visuals than that sort of ultra polished AAA look, and you can do all of this cool stuff with it in the editor, like scale stuff and change all its materials. And
yeah,
if you can do that at all in a AAA kind of style, that comes with drawbacks. Like you scale a mesh and the texture becomes a blurry mess and stuff. We don't have to worry about that now. We just go like, here are some assets, do whatever you want with it. People make requests for assets on Discord and we smash them out in the same day and put them out in the next update. That's so much better for our development and for this kind of scene than working on, AAA assets for 2 months to put out like, here's a wall.
Yeah, so we have stumbled around and there's been a lot of core stuff that we needed to get in place first, but since we're narrowing in on the tech that's required as well as the art style and stuff, it's all like starting to get some traction with the momentum, and development's really picking up now that all the core stuff's in place.
Yeah, it's definitely coming together.
We're excited again. Like as soon as we started to narrow in on the art style, it's like, oh wow, we can do this theme. All right, and this theme. Oh, and this. And our minds are just racing so fast now. It's like it's still working flat out, trying to keep up with all the ideas and stuff. So it's like the workload is just as much, if not more. People don't realize. But it's just going flat out because there's just so many different ways we can go with it.
Yeah, there's a lot more sort of bang for your buck with it though. Like we can produce more assets in less time that fit the game really nicely, instead of just because AAA assets you can spend months on just simple things. Like I think the AAA-ish rocket launcher we had with all the texture and stuff ended up taking about a month and a bit all up.
Yeah, including the animation and effects and stuff, it was probably a month.
Yeah, animation effects, texturing, all the modelling and baking normals and UVs and all of that stuff that I only vaguely understand.
Yeah, it's like, the concept and then building the thing 3 times. It's like, oh, we'll block it out. All right, how's that go in the world? All right, we'll change that a bit. All right, now we'll build the high poly. Now we'll build the low poly, and then we'll UV it, and then we'll bake it, and then we'll... My God. Yeah.
Like that's fine if you've got a team of artists and stuff, but in our situation, you extrapolate that out and we go, well, it'll take us 8 months to do the weapons. And that's without artists working full-time on just the weapons. It'll take us 8 months, and then we've still got all of these environments and stuff to do.
Yep.
So that wasn't going to work. Whereas this way, like if we want to update any of our assets, it's really quick. We can iterate really quickly, and I think that suits us better. We do lots of frequent updates. Now art can do the same.
Outside of the art assets, is there anything kind of either gameplay or the actual engine itself that you feel really proud about, that you've developed over the past year, that maybe when you were initially developing it you didn't think you could do, or you didn't think you'd be able to do as quickly as you did? Any of the features like that?
The lighting I'm pretty happy with. The light map building in the game. I was like, build light maps in the game, you're freaking crazy. But yeah, that actually worked out really quite well. It's always a bit of a battle as well. We then go and add 100 meshes, and all of a sudden it takes too long to bake lights, and then we've got to improve it, and that's just a constant ongoing process. But yeah, now it's really cool. You build your lights for your level in a few minutes, and instant response. I think that's really good. The netcode as well. I was pretty happy with it.
Netcode.
Took about 4 to 6 weeks, I think. That was tricky to work out, but yeah, really quite happy with how that went. I think it's unique to what everyone else does. It still definitely has its flaws, but it's got a lot of pros with respect to aiming. Where you shoot is where you actually hit and stuff like that. I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, I think the netcode's something that is being talked about in a wider gaming circle. I know there was a very big post on the Global Offensive subreddit about the netcode in Reflex, and obviously it's a much smaller game than Counter-Strike, so you've obviously kind of done something quite spectacular there.
Yeah, that was a weird one. There was people posting saying that, no, that can't work. It can't work like that. And it's like, well, it is working. It's proven. Everyone's playing with it, and we've had feedback saying that it's too good in some cases. And it's like,
I think like ArenaFPS is a kind of some of the worst case scenarios for netcode. Like at the moment, something we've got to look at maybe cleaning up one day is how knockback feels at higher pings, because you can't really predict it. But then you look at a game like CSGO or many other games out there, they don't really have knockback. You shoot someone and the bullet hits them and that's it. Whereas we've got rockets that launch you 300, 400 units into the air like that.
And then you can be shot while you're in the air.
Yeah, like that all makes it a lot harder. So I think it is an approach that would work for a lot of games. Anyway, gameplay-wise, I don't know, like I feel good about where the game is at the moment. Like gameplay-wise, things do feel quite solid. There's definitely a list of things I want to fix up and change and experiment with, but I kind of expected things to be unplayable for longer. People started using Reflex in competitions, and I was thinking like, oh, not yet. It's not ready for competitions yet.
We panicked. I remember
the system's still broken, and just really trying to get all of these last-minute features in because people were trying to run competitions, and it all held up fine. Like it definitely wasn't ideal, but it wasn't just like this game's rubbish. It's playable but needs work, and I like how quickly that came together.
Yeah, it was funny with that the first comps when people started saying, and they just drop a date saying we're doing the comp on this date. I'm like, whoa! We really wish you had spoken to us or something. Like we could have got some more features in or done this and that. So, community's really pushed a lot of development as well in that regard. So we target features that are more suited to competition play, and just by the nature of them setting the dates, we have to try and rush in as much as possible. That's going to make the competition go better.
I think in some ways that's probably where, like obviously we put out releases and there's a small fraction of the community who immediately loses their mind. But I think part of that is a symptom of how solid the game's already feeling. There's this group of people who don't feel that it needs any more work in these areas. It's already what they want. Still going to change stuff because we can do better. I don't
like it, but we're going to change it.
I don't want to. Yeah, well, I mean, I like it as well, but I think it could be better. And part of the process is to kind of keep releasing those iterations and tests and stuff. But the fact that we have more people sort of getting upset that we are changing gameplay as opposed to we are not changing gameplay, I think is a good sign of where the game's at. We could probably just say, all right, gameplay's done, and there would be quite a large number of people in the scene who would be happy with that call.
And people that are upset.
And because there's always people who are happy and people who are upset.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good time to talk about patches themselves, and how do you feel about the game in its current iteration, 37.3, which is a patch which is out now when this video goes live, but isn't out now in now times.
Oh, the future.
Well, it's
So yeah, the future.
we've all
yeah, I
got
do.
it anyway, and it's got an eggplant launcher, so
that's
it's
cool.
blatantly the best fucking update we've ever done.
It is really satisfying to use. I cannot describe it.
Yeah, well, I've put a lot of testing, and I think everyone here has tried out the movement changes already and stuff like that, and I'm liking the way that's feeling at the moment. May still need tweaking and stuff, but it's feeling more solid, and the skill curve's a lot better for a lot of trick jumps than it was in 37 or 36. So it's good to have that back, because don't want all of these tricks to be easy and stuff. And we've finally got some admin features that we've needed for a long time, like server passwords and referees, which I think we're making extensive use of this weekend.
So now people can lock each other out and kick each other easily and stuff. That's
Don't
cool.
give them ideas. But yeah, so I think with the 37 release in general, we're just kind of excited because we feel like we've hit a point where we can start doing some of the features we've been sort of chomping at the bit for quite a long time to start implementing.
Matchmaking.
We're starting to get, matchmaking. A lot of the kind of default Steam ideas, which we just haven't got in yet, like the matchmaking and cosmetics and stats and all of that stuff. We're starting to focus on that stuff, and that's the stuff that very few arena shooters have done yet. I'm not quite sure how far Quake Live made it, because I know they did some more stuff with their latest patch that I haven't checked out yet. But for a long time, there was just no games that had any of this stuff. And we're like, cool, we finally get to do this stuff. This is the stuff. These are the reasons we didn't want to just keep playing CPMA, because we wanted to add things like this. So it's good to be at that point after a year-long slog of doing tech and establishing art and fixing bugs and things like that. Now we can finally go like, cool, these are the features that I've been waiting to do, and now we're starting on them.
Just before we move on to kind of future features, in terms of 37.3, has it been a bit of a relief or a bit of fun kind of doing the more light-hearted birthday features?
Very much. It's been fantastic, actually. The 37 build went out. That was a hard slog, that one. That was because all of a sudden the map was 3 or 4 times, Monolith was 3 or 4 times bigger than BDM3, and that pushed the engine really hard, and that was a lot of work to get running fast. And then finally released it and sit back, and this week, what are we going to do? Is that an eggplant launcher? That was great. We'll sit back and have a good laugh. That was very good.
Yeah, it's definitely like a welcome change where 37, we had this big task list. We got to get all of this stuff done by this date. With this party update, it was just kind of like, we'll just throw in stuff, and if we have to cut things, it doesn't matter because they're all just stupid.
So yeah, the eggplant launch is amazing. Come on.
So
I think people will really enjoy it.
Yeah, so there'll be a few days of that, and then we'll just go back to business as usual. I don't know, Reflex is generally a serious game, but we don't really feel that it needs to be serious 365 days a year. So
yeah, it's good to have a fun update, I think.
Yeah, I think the contrast of having the stupidity makes it, in that small time period, makes it even more amusing.
Yeah,
taking a break from all these tournaments and competitions and series.
You put an eggplant.
Yeah,
you put an eggplant. You put an eggplant launcher in. We can just edit out the 15 times I started this sentence. You put an eggplant launcher in TF2, and people probably wouldn't bat an eye because it wouldn't even be the stupidest thing in TF2. It's a silly game. They do silly things. Whereas in Reflex, where it's usually also serious, you suddenly start doing silly things, and like Electro said, the contrast is really good.
Yeah, I agree. It's really fun, and like you say, it's a nice kind of bit of a change for a couple of days, and then back to kind of the old business as usual.
Yeah, and it is. We are already back to business as usual. We're already working on some, pretty big changes, which
38 hype
really well. Yeah, 38 hype. You can start that pretty much. If you're hearing this actually broadcast, it's time for 38 hype.
Yeah.
Nice. So, talking about 38 hype, what features are you most looking forward to implementing in the future? And what do you think will be the biggest impact on the game going forward?
Everything. Well, it's kind of true. We kind of joke about it because we've got this massive list of what we consider major features, and it's like, oh, which one do we do first? So which one's going to make the biggest impact on the community and the product as a whole? And the answer's always everything.
Well, we're looking at matchmaking upcoming, and also cosmetics. I think cosmetics are going to be going into 38. We're also closely looking into workshop as well. Like the maps is perfect to go into workshop. Like right now, how you start a server and list a whole lot of maps by name, it's too simplistic. You really want nice screenshots of your maps there and stuff, and the ability to upload them and everyone can see it. And I think that'll add a lot to the product. Also social features, I think we're missing a lot of. Like for example, in Dota, you fire the game up and your friends are there and you can just say, add to party, let's go play, come on. Reflex doesn't really have anything like that, so I'd be really excited to get into some of that stuff, and I think that will come with the matchmaking, which might be 39. I don't want to confirm it yet though.
Definitely 39-ish.
39-ish. Cool. So even longer term, what are you thinking the game's going to look like in that year's time? So second birthday of Reflex, I assume there'll be more eggplant launchers, but apart from that, what do you want to see in the game in a year?
It's hard to know. Like looking back a year ago, we've done so much. Like we didn't even have a user interface. Oh, we had a very, very cheap and quick one then. It didn't have the netcode, didn't have all this graphic stuff or art really. Or we've done so much. In another year, it's really hard to imagine. I'd like to think we'd have matchmaking and would have cosmetics and would have a really solid UI and statistics, and hopefully even we're out of early access. That's the goal I would like to see.
Yeah, I think I can imagine a year from now, like we'll have a lot of these major features that we're really excited about done, and we'll have polished up pretty much everything across the board, because I don't think people realise, like from our point of view, Reflex is still pretty unpolished in a lot of areas. There's a lot of things we could just do that sort of last pass on and give some love to, and just make the experience a lot better for players.
Cool. Electro, you got any final thoughts on that?
I agree with those guys.
Nice. So just to wrap up now, we've got a few community questions, and I'd like to pose a selection of these to the developers. First off, we'll start with from Nazi. Apart from Reflex, are there any other games that you currently have interest in that you play or just kind of observing?
Oh,
Dave plays a lot of games.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
as a player, like I dabble in as much as possible because it kind of gives me ideas which I can borrow for Reflex. Just things about sort of flow and polish and just ideas. But I really don't get to properly play very many games.
I still play. I
think-
play WoW a couple times a week. Still raiding. It's
I
good
think
break.
GTA 5 was the last game I properly played all the way through.
GTA 5 was
The
great.
rest has been,
Yeah, I played that.
yeah. I think everything else has been like I'll put a couple of hours in here and there, but I really don't get much time. Everything's just Reflex.
Yeah, Reflex does take a lot of time. Play MOBAs here and there as well. They're a bit of fun. Yeah, the core of my time goes into the Reflex Dev though, really.
I don't know about the other guys, but for me, it's if I'm on my PC playing a game, kind of tiptoe around. I'm like, ooh, kind of want to jump into this game, but I know people are going to be watching and seeing what I play, and I bet I get a message. And it's like, yeah, we jumped into League of Legends. I think it was all three of it. Oh, no, it was just Shooter and I. And then I got a message asking, like, what are you doing in that game? And then all three of us were in Dota, and then there was more messages like, oh, what are the whole development team doing in Dota? What's going on here?
Going pro is like the third game I've ever played in my life.
God. It's the first game I'd played of it. Just got it.
And yeah, we played Rocket League as a team as well.
That was fun.
Just to kind
that was
of
a good game.
blow up some steam, yeah. Yeah, I think most stuff we kind of end up just all playing together for, you know, a couple of hours at the end of the day to just sort of unwind after getting angry at each other all day in the dev chat.
Yeah. Some of it's to,
arguing constantly.
like, we never, I guess, fully unwind, or at least, I don't know, I need a real long holiday, at least 3 weeks or something to do that. But when we fire up a game together and partially unwind and have jokes and stuff and play, we're still kind of studying, and there's different elements, and we're always wondering, it's like, this is really cool, how can we do our own twists of this and apply it to Reflex in some way? Like, would it benefit? And there's always that in the back of our minds.
Yeah, that never turns off.
Yeah, it's impossible to play a game without studying it now. Like every aspect of the game, you're like, oh, this UI is not bad. How, like, you know, what makes this UI good? Or there's some aspect of this gameplay that's really good. Could we capture that in Reflex? It's always switched on.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. Like, I've been doing it for 15 years now or whatever, and it's just, you get used to it.
Yeah, you put one texture in a game that's been sort of scaled a little bit further than it should, and immediately you can see nothing else. Like, most people run past that, you know, badly textured rock a million times and don't think twice, but I see it and I just immediately go, like, who did that? What were you thinking?
For some reason, I'm getting flashbacks to World of Warcraft. It's like,
I'm getting flashbacks to I'm getting flashbacks to Skyrim.
Oh, right.
Spotted a few in that. Even just the first time I loaded up Skyrim, I was like sitting through the intro and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this could be pretty cool. And then I noticed, like, there's a moment where someone gets their head chopped off, and the executioner walks to his mark, and then slides forward without moving his feet about half a meter.
Immersion ruined.
So that he's properly
Table flip.
And like, I noticed that first time, and immediately, like, I restarted the game like 3 or 4 times because it's one of those games, and I just could not unsee it. It's like, that. Why didn't someone catch that and fix it?
If only they had a bigger budget.
If only they had me just sitting there in the back being a pedantic prick 24 hours a day. Like,
we
no,
get that
he slid.
I feel lucky.
So, Turbo Pixel Studios as as a company, just as a follow-up question, you guys seem to be pretty friendly. Do you kind of do a lot of things outside of work together, apart from the gaming? Would you consider yourself like close-knit friends as well as colleagues?
I've never even met the other.
It's a funny backstory.
And he never will.
We actually live in different states, so it's a bit tricky to go out to the gym after work or something.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 kilometers or something between each of us.
I've worked with Electro in the past personally, so I know him in person. And haven't caught up with Dave yet. We have to do it.
Yeah, we were thinking about it for PAX, but we didn't go to PAX. And...
Yeah, we're like, oh, that could be an opportunity to all meet each other and meet fans and stuff. It's like, nah, don't want to do it.
I wasn't don't want to do it. We had dev tasks, and we had, you know, there's money to
We've got
think
important
of.
shit that needs doing. We don't have time to sit around at PAX.
Yeah, well, I mean, that we never stop developing in our brains either. Like, I go out to the movies. There's like once every 6 months, someone will invite me to the movies, and I'll go out, and like I'm sitting there during the trailer, like checking developer chat, so that I can maybe turn off for like an hour and a half.
I think that's why we work though. Like, we talk a lot on the dev chat. 24. If we're awake, I won't go with an hour without checking it. Like, it's just what makes us work though.
Yeah, and if there's no reply in like 15 minutes, it's like, oh, where is he? What's going on? Is the chat down? Is it my internet? What's going on?
All of which are a possibility.
Yeah, in Australia.
So there was a question, or you were saying earlier about how when you were playing League of Legends and Dota 2, people were messaging you on a Discord. I can imagine it would have been
on Steam.
how do you feel about Steam? how do you feel about the Reflex community as a whole? I feel like they've kind of really gotten behind the game, but I'm sure there's kind of benefits and curses to having such an involved community.
I think this is definitely my question.
Dave's the community guy.
Like it is a mixture. Like they are both amazing with the things they do. Like even you guys in here right now, Gil and Nathan, you both contribute a lot to the scene in general, not just Reflex, and that stuff's amazing. We've got all these people churning out maps and everything like that. But the arena scene is also incredibly hard to please. Like the bar for them is just set so high. Like even just taking an example like frame rate, like 125 FPS is considered minimum, which is double what most development studios would consider a luxury. And that in turn is double what most studios consider acceptable. So hitting all of those marks with them is very difficult. But at the same time, like when they do get behind your game, they're amazing. Like the amount of support we've received has been huge. We wouldn't be where we are now without the people in the scene backing us up.
Cool. Here's another question from Nazi. So what is the everyday development process? Like how does it work? What's your 9 to 5 or 8 to 12 schedule?
4 till 4.
Yeah. Dave's is bizarre. We still don't know.
Yeah, mine.
There's kind of
mine
gaps
kind
where
of...
Dave isn't around. Usually just in a regular morning, because he's around all the other time in some zombie form.
Yeah, there are definitely kind of... I think there'd be days where the other guys wake up and there's just like 8 hours worth of messages from me in our chat with, obviously no response because everyone else is sleeping like normal people.
And they're all crazy ideas.
And then, yeah, they're all like crazy ideas and feedback and just half thought out comments. And then they wake up in the morning and they sort through all of that. And then I wake up in the afternoon and do it all again. But I think because there is only 3 of us, we can all kind of just do our own thing. Like we know what we need to do. We do like big meetings and work out task lists and stuff, but everything's really easy to sort of delegate. Shooter does the tech and Electro does the art and I do the design and various other things. And we just sort of do it independently and then go to the rest of the team. Look, here's what I did.
Yeah, we all get along and it's not a drama. It's like, all right, we need to Skype. All right, yeah, we'll Skype in 5 minutes. Or, Skype now. And the call's now. Before we know it, we're on Skype. We're discussing a feature or working on something together. Or like there'll be often times where it's Shooter and I need to work through some tech and art stuff simultaneously and we just plug away at that for a few hours. Like working remotely hasn't really impacted us a great deal because we're in sync.
Yeah, if we're running like a team of coders and a team of artists and stuff, it might be more difficult. But with just such a small team, it is really easy to just, you do your work and you put it all together at the end of the day.
This might be a question for Shooter, but Nazi also is asking how the future of the sound engine is going to look. Is there a planned development for it?
That's a hot question. We've been talking about FMod a lot, but we just haven't got to it yet, to be perfectly honest. That's the blunt, honest truth. It's something we'd like to do, but there's always something else that's just currently got a higher priority for us.
We did spend a weekend kind of toying with what we already had in there, but we weren't really satisfied with the results and stuff, and it becomes this, analysis of, well, do we want to sort of spend 8 hours of development time or more kind of putting band-aids on broken things, or do we want to just go, right, that's broken, and leave it until we can fix it properly?
Yeah, I think it'll be one of those times when it's like big feature, this update is sound engine or is netcode or is scalability or whatever. It'll be one of those kind of features.
On our initial test though, it was pretty cool getting some of the sound features in, like the reverb and dampening behind walls and stuff like that, and having the occlusion working was pretty cool.
Yeah, like it was cool. It was just going to take more time than it was really worth. Like it could no longer be considered a quick fix.
In terms of time, it could have blown out to be a major release if we kept going down that path.
So sound stuff, it's definitely on our radar because we're not happy with the system we've got, but it's just got to be prioritised with all of the other features.
Okay. I have 2 more questions here.
Are they both from Nasty?
Yeah, they're all from Nasty. I'm trying to ham it up and be like, oh, and this next one's from Nasty again, but no, all from him.
Anonymous.
So anonymous. So you've been talking about matchmaking a bit earlier. How do you think it's gonna how do you envisage it to work? There's various matchmaking systems like ELO and I can't remember the one. TrueSkill, I think, is another one. How do you see the ranks and matchmaking working in the future?
Well, that's a scary question because
all of his questions are really scary.
Oh, this one's scarier. We haven't really committed to that kind of low-level stuff yet. How will we do ranks? Will we use ELO or TrueSkill or something else we make up? And I think all of them are options. And the system will sort of be designed in a way, and we are the kind of developers that if we do ELO and it sucks, we'll just go, well, this sucks, and we'll rip it out and we'll put something else in. Most of our design focus at the moment has been, on things like flow and, how to get just games up and running and keep them running and keep people, playing and entertained, and just not have them sitting at a menu for half an hour waiting for a game, bored out of their minds or alt-tabbed and doing something else. We want people playing. So we've got a lot of design focusing on, making sure that the moment you get into Reflex, and hit find match, you're doing something entertaining. But as for the actual, will we use ELO? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, like Yvonne said, it's once we have all the other major infrastructure in place, the formula that we use based on all the stats that we're tracking and stuff is going to be pretty trivial to swap out. It's just the final piece.
Okay. So it's more about the kind of player experience and necessarily kind of the mechanics below the actual HUD.
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely our first priority is to actually get games happening. We've obviously got problems with player counts at the moment, but that's weird because you jump on an empty server and it'll fill up within a few minutes, except no one really seems to be willing to jump on that empty server first. But seeing it fill up like that, there has to be players out there looking for games. They're just not finding them. So we want to fix that and stuff. The actual ranking players and stuff is just fluff on top of that, which I know some competitive players might not like to hear, but from a dev point of view, it's sort of trivial. We really can just swap in and out systems depending on what works and what doesn't, and it's really not a large step from sort of the general matchmaking to the ranked matches and figuring out where you stand in your region and stuff like that.
Cool. I think a good question to finish on would be, so at what point do you think there'll be kind of the big marketing push, or if that's even one of your goals to try and mass market or market as well as you can given the funds you have to the general audience? Because I know up to now you've been a bit coy, I guess, about trying to expose the game to too many people because you are more interested in core ArenaFPS players to be your audience.
I think when we can get out of early access is the best time, to be honest. Right now, we had the sale on recently and I was playing on the Australian servers at the time. People are joining with 300 ping and stuff, and then you guys just coming from the US, and it's just that they don't know to go for the best ping server through the server browser. It's not user friendly enough. You need to be able to just load up the game and say, play, let's go, and it handles all that stuff for you.
Even most new players' experience is sort of jump on a server, get stomped by some veteran, and then really lose your interest in continuing to play. And we don't really want to encourage new players in to experience that firsthand until we've done stuff to fix it. And once that sort of new player experience is a lot better, then we'll start sort of pushing marketing harder, trying to get more new players in. But at the moment, like, it takes quite a bit of dedication to get properly into Reflex.
Cool. So I think that kind of wraps up everything that I want to ask. I've been Galangua, and we've had Newborn, Electro, and Shooter, along with the wonderful Nathan sitting in the corner here recording, all on his own. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll have more content for you very soon.